Welcome to Laugh Through It All. I'm your host, Tracy. Join me as I talk to Luba, a trained intimacy coach, about how men and women see things differently in the bedroom. This has got to be one of my favorite episodes. It's spicy, it's funny, and Luba is just a pure delight. So come join me. What inspired you to become a sex therapist, like a relationship coach?
Mm.
Where did you get your start?
Yeah, I think life was guiding me in such a way that I lost my virginity very late. I was like 21 or 22, and my first experience was not fun at all. Like
No. Nor is
I
it ever, no matter what age you are.
see, but some people have it good.
Really? Oh my. Ugh. I'm really glad that mine was a little bit younger than you and then not again for a long time. I'm like, "Hell no, won't be doing that again."
and I decided, then I ended up marrying that person, my first sexual partner, and we were both first for each other. So we had no idea what we are doing. It was awkward and kind of, like weird. I don't know, like it wasn't
Right.
just fun. And so we ended up being 7 years together. And I decided that sex is not for women because he still wanted to have sex. So he would approach me every time, like he would come to cuddle, and I wanted to cuddle. But then when we start cuddling, like it goes into sex,
Every
right?
time.
Yeah. And that was like I lived with that idea that sex is not for women. And then later, after we separated, and then I tried my first good sex. I was like approaching 30 at that time. And I was like, oh my God, it can be good. It can be fun.
Sure.
And then I started my journey. I went to Thailand to learn from Master Mantak Chia, who wrote books Multi-Orgasmic Man, Multi-Orgasmic Woman. I was just like so curious. Like I had no idea how to have many orgasms. I was like, I really wanted to learn. And then when I came there, the Mantak Chia was teaching about energy, and I was disappointed. I was like, I came here to learn about sex, and he's teaching about energy. And so but then later I understood the importance of energy, that like
Sure,
when
right.
when you bring energy, when you circulate, when you connect, like that's when the juice is.
Yeah.
And then I learned, I did a lot of tantra, and I joined Human Awareness Institute, where I learned about intimacy. And this is when the first time I realized intimacy and sex are two different things. I can be close with someone, like very close, intimate, and not be sexual at all. Or I can be sexual with someone and not feel closeness. It can be like a casual, just like a fun, wild experience.
Okay.
Right. And so I realized that I was seeking intimacy, and every time I have sex, I expected intimacy, but there was not intimacy. And then I was doing this. I was on in person, like the looking for my, like inner search, like a training where they help you to understand like what's your calling, what is like what's your potential, what are your hidden talents. And this is when I had this, like I had a picture of a crowd of people that who wanted to learn about sex from me, and because I'm not doing it, they were all like angry, and and they were upset and angry and sad. And that's when I felt like, you know what, I want to teach about sex, like I want to be sex educator. And it's a bold move because it's not as easy. I worked in software industry, I worked as a quality assurance manager, and it was just like, oh, you're in tech. I worked at Google, everyone is like, that's cool. Now when I'm sex coach, some people just like, oh, like kind of, grabbing their kids closer, like
Yeah. Stay away from that lady.
yeah, because there is still like a lot of shame around
Sure,
sex. and
absolutely.
and it's taboo and it's considered dirty and religions don't like it as much. So I knew that it will be a journey, like not an easy journey, but like that it was my calling and it was so important for me to do. Almost like I wasn't living my full life until I started doing it. I have goosebumps as I'm saying this.
That's amazing. I love hearing that part because I'm in my own little personal journey. I'm not going to
Mm,
become a sex therapist, but I
you
understand
never
that
know.
you never know. As much as I talk about it, I might as well. Um, but I understand that feeling. It is it's totally different. It's a different, you do get a different feeling and you don't know it until you feel it, you know.
Yeah,
Um
yeah.
so do you think you, being a late bloomer, I guess we could say, and waiting and not having it till later in life, do you think that was beneficial for you wanting to search it out, because you searched it out just for your
Mhm.
own benefit, right?
Yeah, that's what like most of my journey was like searching it for me because like I had this like boyfriend when I was 16 and my mom was like really warning me and saying that no, don't do it. Like save your virginity for the right person, you know, like what if you get pregnant or whatever. So there was that um, and then another message I remember my mom was saying, it's really nice that you don't give sex to a man, but then when you do give it, you blow his mind.
Yeah.
But she didn't tell me how.
Or didn't tell you that it might not be good the first time.
Yes, yes, that
That's
too, right?
very important information.
And so when I embarked on my journey that I separated with my first husband and I was just like, oh my God, I'm like 27, 28. I discovered sex. So I had like 2 years of wild experience. I was having so much sex with so many people. I tried orgies, threesomes, you name it. I tried it all.
You really let loose that. You're like, I held it for so long. Now, just give me all of
Exactly.
it.
So I think that's what it did for me to answer your question, right? That like I thought it will be amazing. I waited until this like late time. Then I had it. It wasn't amazing. Then I decided women can't enjoy it at all. And then when I finally felt the goodness of it,
Right.
then I was like, okay, now I want to know all about it. I want to try everything. I want to learn everything. And then after I discovered all of these things for myself, I'm like, people need to know this because no one teaches us. Just
Right.
like look at a person's development. Like parents don't talk to us. At school, they just teach us how not to get pregnant and like how not to get STIs, STDs. No one teaches us how to have pleasure, like
Mm,
that, like how to understand your desire, your like what turns you on, like how to melt, like how to dance in that flow with your partner, like all of this no one teaches us.
right.
So, those lucky people who meet someone experienced, they learn from them. I haven't met. And another thing, I would like find someone who is like a tantra practitioner. I have sex with them and it wasn't good, you know. So I
Right.
realized that I need to relax, open up. I need to like learn how to receive pleasure, how to feel pleasure, because I can have the best partner, I can have sex guru, but it will not do much if I can't like, be in it.
Relax. Yeah, I
Hmm.
agree. You know, I we talked about the podcast I did with Lee, uh, and we talked about how women are so caught up in their own insecurities, or they don't even know their own bodies to know what feels good to them. And so
Yeah.
we spend a lot of time faking it, making them feel like
Mhm.
they're doing a rock star job when really you're
Mm.
just wanting to get it over with. And it's
Ah.
so unfortunate, but you know, on the men's side of it, they're getting the wrong impression on what feels good for the most part to women. And
Wow, that's a
I
great point.
yeah, and I think that's so important is because women do fake it a lot, in my opinion,
Hmm.
you know.
Yes, yes. And I used to fake orgasms totally.
Mhm.
And when I did pleasure retreats for women, and then I will ask, like, raise your hands who faked orgasms, like most hands go up, right? Because for women, female sexuality, again, like no one teaches us, it's different from male sexuality. We are wired differently. We, like, there are similarities, but as well, we are very different. And so it's expected that like woman needs to function like men. Like, for example, having orgasm from penetration, that like for a while I don't have orgasm from penetration, and I learned that 70% of women don't. And then learning anatomy, I'm like, oh, that makes sense, because like all of our the most the tissue, the clitoral tissue, it's all outside with all the nerve endings. So it's more a question for those women who have orgasm from penetration. How, like, what's your secret,
Yeah,
right?
right.
But it's expected, and I felt that something's so wrong with me, that we are having sex, my partner will come quickly, a lot of times quickly, and right, and I don't. And I'm like, something is really, really wrong with me. But then I can't talk because people don't talk about sex,
No, no.
right? You don't
And then
talk to your partner.
if you
Yeah.
don't have an orgasm, then you're hurting their feelings. So then again, you fake it. You pretend, you know
Then,
what I mean? And it's a vicious cycle.
yeah. But then when I talk to men, it's another funny part that I haven't met a man who said like, oh, some women faked orgasms with me. Every single man says never ever a
Oh
woman faked
no.
orgasm with me.
I bet. I bet. Because they again, we've given them this false sense of them being, the king, that they are, big pleasure makers in the bedroom when they're really not.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and then, like when I had the retreats for women, when it was like a weekend retreat, and by the end, women feel so open and relaxed and enjoying like the sensations. And then they're like, I want my man to do this stuff to me, but I don't want to teach him. Like,
Right.
I don't want to come and just like, okay, let me teach you, or even like I don't know how to teach him, right? So that what made me turn into this, like, you know what, I want to teach men. What if like I have all of this information from women, I am the woman, right? Like, to have this space for men where I can be so vulnerable and openly just like tell them and teach them what actually women need in bedroom, like
Yes.
what is hot for women, what, like, how to operate with her, how to play on her like on a piano.
Yes. So what do you think, in how would you define like like a fulfillment in women? Like what do you think women are desiring or wishing their man would know?
Yeah, this is it's a very good question, because I have this, it's a great example of like how we different, men and women, that like men and women, they both have amazing sex. And so when you ask women what was happening, woman is saying, oh my God, like he looked in my eyes, he held my hand, he was so present when I was sharing, he really listened, and then he asked questions, and I felt so heard. And then we were making out for hours, and then like the energy, like I felt it in my arms, right? So that's how woman describes. And
Right.
then man who had the same sex with the same woman, he's like, oh, like she sucked my cock, and she just like she was like loving it, and then she was riding me, and it was like just like she had so much fun, and I could feel how my cock is satisfying her, right? And we just like, and we fucked like rabbits, like,
Very different.
but they both had fun, right? and
Right.
so and so in this example, why woman actually had fun, because this man was present, and he did talk for her, and he was emotionally present, and maybe even she shared and she cried, and he held her, and he looked in her eyes. And then after she received all of that, she felt so turned on that she was riding his cock and she was loving it. But if you put her right on the cock without
Right.
doing all of the other important
No,
things.
absolutely not. No. And it really is truly so easy, because it's we don't start in the bedroom. Like us getting excited doesn't start with, okay, let's just do this right now. You probably are going to agree that it starts way before that,
Yes, yes, yes,
So
totally.
yeah, I mean, we want someone who is in tune and who is seems like they're listening and seems like they're into you. Um, I mean, of course, there's probably occasions where it doesn't take that way. But I would think in relationships, in a long-term relationship, that the needs of a man could be turned like that, where a woman kind of needs you, your husband, you want him to do things throughout the day to make you know that they're thinking of you, or the things like that you're important.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so many clients, when I work one-on-one with clients, that a lot of times it's almost like every single man, I'm asking them to slow down.
Hmm.
Because we do this like experiential interaction, and we have clothes on so we don't touch genitals. It's like a lab, but we play into this like sexual scene, and we touch each other, and we get, and it's fascinating to see how man usually gets going faster.
Right.
And so, and a lot of times I feel like, hey, like I am here and you already gone into this like heat of the moment, right? And so to just really slow down, go in as slow like as you can, and like be with her and go in slow. Because I like this analogy that man is like fire, woman is like water. So man, he just like boof, and he's ready. He's hard, he's turned on. If he has attraction, he just like ready to go right there. And
Yes.
woman, we need like warm up period. Like if you ever like boiling, trying to boil a water, right? Like it takes
It
some
takes a little
time,
bit.
right? And so it takes time to warm up water. I usually say it's like at least 40 minutes foreplay, like
Yes.
touching, kissing, looking, caressing, undressing, like slowly undressing, like all of these scenes, at least 40 minutes before pussy is hungry, before
Hmm.
actually there is desire in her genitals, because so often penetration happens when she's not ready,
Hmm.
right? And that's when like, and then she's not enjoying as much, and then women don't want to have sex, because
Right.
like most women like who come for sex coaching, they don't want to have sex. They're like, I don't know what it is, I love my partner, I want to be with him, I just don't want to have sex.
Sex with him. Yes.
Right? And it's just like, because like, are you enjoying your sex? Like, are you really turned on? So like, are you having good sex? Because when we arrive in the place that woman is having that, like she's warmed up nicely, and she's like, she can't wait for something to go inside her, she's on fire, like then she wants to have sex, like then
Right.
she does want it, when it's a
And I
good
would
sex.
I would think that in long-term relationships that is much harder because, with the communication breakdown and everything else, I mean, you've got to have the communication to even to even let them know what you want, and that's so difficult for some people.
It's difficult for so many people, because communication, just in general, people talking to each other, a lot of times people don't communicate when something hurts, like when there is like an ouch. And so when we don't speak it, then it's like we kind of build this like wall, we already like create the distance. So that's like one communication, that's something that like I prescribe. That's the first scene to remove that wall, or we call it hedgehogs. Whenever you have an ouch, you put a hedgehog, then another hedgehog. And so they're pokey, right? Like it's like you try to have sex, there are a bunch of hedgehogs between you. And so, but that's just like that kind of communication. Talking about sex is so hard for people, like
Yes.
even for people who need to talk, the partners, right? Like they need to talk, and it's hard. And so that's what I work with my clients, to be initiators and to actually to open the door. to start sharing about yourself, and then your partner starts sharing, because we are afraid to hurt feelings or to even like
Yes.
speak up desire.
Because, the men's ego too. You don't wanna hurt their ego, and I don't know, I tell me if you think I'm wrong, but I feel like it's harder for people who are in long-term relationships to communicate their wants and needs in the bedroom, because if they've never talked about it before, than it would be for a new partner. If you have a new partner, it's easier to because they have nothing to compare you to. Where all of a sudden, if you're
Mm.
asking for these things, they're thinking, "Where is this dirty person coming from? I've been married to you for
Oh.
how long?" Do you know what I mean? So
Mm. Yeah.
I think the longer you're with somebody and the longer you don't have that communication on what your wants and needs, the harder it is because you don't want them to look at you differently.
Yes. Yes. And um that is what you're talking about. That totally, like, that's present. That happens for so many people, like in a
Right.
long-term relationships, because it's expected that, oh, I'm your partner, I know everything about you, right? Like,
Mhm.
I know, like, how do I tell my partner he's supposed to know everything, right? And then it's just like, for a lot of people, it's one position, one way they come, and it's just like it just becomes boring, because like they don't bring like variety, they don't play with stuff, right? So you're right, it is hard to kind of like break that break that pattern. But
Yeah.
what I teach my clients, that vulnerability is it's like, it's very hard. It takes courage to get vulnerable, but as well, it helps us to be closer. And when I'm vulnerable, the person opens up and they become vulnerable too. Like, it's just, this is how it works. If I And what is vulnerable? Talking about things that are hard,
Right.
right? In this example, that like for example, like, let's say my partner goes down on me, and um I just like, I really want him to have his finger in, and he doesn't
Mhm.
use his finger, he only like uses his lips, right? And he done it for 10 years, right? And then just like, how do I bring it up? And so how I would approach it, that I'm like, okay, honey, it's not during sex, it's like outside of the bedroom, maybe when we have breakfast, we sit on the couch, so we're not having sex, and say like, there is something I want to bring up, but I feel nervous. So I just speak truth, like, what do I feel? I feel a little awkward. Like, I'm worried that it will hurt you, or like, you know that. So when I say it like that, person is already like, oh, tell me, like, they're
Right.
already in a different space, right? I'm not just like kind of dump it on them, and they're like, where did that come from? They already understand. And that kind of like opens up them, because I already said I'm nervous, that I'm like, something is coming out, right? And then I say that, I really, like, I want you to try, like, I enjoy how, like, you lick my pussy. I would love for you to try a finger, or
Yeah.
maybe a toy. Like, what do you think about that? And if when you deliver it like this, most partners will be like, oh, hell yes, yeah, let's
Absolutely.
go right now, right? But a lot of times, people get frustrated, and they just say it. They're like, I
Right.
wish you used finger. Like, you
So
never use finger.
you think having all of those conversations outside of the bedroom instead of asking for it in the moment,
Yes.
or you can mix it up,
Yes,
which
yes, that's very important. Yes, because all of these difficult conversations, they're important to have. When we don't have difficult conversations, we are like, we are not living with each other. We are not connected. We are like this, like, kind of, like strangers. Having difficult conversations brings us closer, like those we have outside of the bedroom. But then when we are in the bedroom, that what it has to be like, when person in that, like, they're turned on and they're like in the sex, and we say that, like, oh, you're doing a bad job, or like that really that hurts not only men, it hurts women, like it hurts anyone, right? So how we communicate in the bedroom, that let's say my partner is going down on me, and I'm not enjoying, like, it doesn't, I don't feel anything, right? So I will be like, um just feeling something, what am I enjoying, like what in the moment, what can I, that it will be honest, right? Like what can I say first, something that is good, and maybe like, oh, I love like feeling the warmth of your mouth, or I love that you're like between my legs right now. I would love for you to use more pressure, or I would love for you to go to the left, to the right. Could you suck more, could you suck less? And then when they do it, it's important that I start enjoying it. If I'm still not enjoying it, I'm like, oh, try this, try that. But the moment I am enjoying it, I express it. I'm like, oh my God, yes, this is it. Oh, thank you. Or maybe like, oh, like making those
Right.
morning sounds, right? But it's important. First, I
For
say
the
that
feedback.
yeah, it's good. Then I ask what I wanted, and then I make sure that when they do it the way I wanted, that I make sure I communicate.
Yeah, I
And then
like
it
that you
flows
tell them what
beautifully.
yeah, I like that you start off with telling them what you do like about what they're doing, because then
Hmm.
that takes down that wall, like, "What am I doing wrong? No, you're doing I love
Yeah.
the way you do this, but
Yeah.
can you I was thinking about it, can you add this to it?" I like that approach for sure.
Yeah. And we don't want to say a lot. We just like give directions, like to the left, to the right, suck
Okay.
more, suck less. We don't need like many words. We want to be as specific as we can.
Right. I figure I'm a teacher. I'm also a teacher, so it's like I give enough direction all day long.
Because that's how they get it. And I tell you what, Tracy, it's not easy. It's
No.
not. I just want to acknowledge that I've spent so many times I'm laying there and I want to say something and my mouth is not opening. It's like
Oh, yeah.
betraying me, right?
I
You know what
agree.
I'm talking
Yes.
about?
Yes, for
so
sure.
so there is that pressure on us that like somehow we learned that, oh my God, what if it ruins something, what if they get upset, what is this, that, especially if we faked orgasms for a while, right? Like now I
Yes,
have to speak honestly what I want. That's a big shift.
absolutely.
And so there is
Absolutely.
exercise. There is exercise that is like outside of having sex, just like one person is receiving touch and another one is touching. And so as a receiver, I will say shoulders firm. And so when my partner is touching, as soon as I like it, I will again like moan or say, oh, this is so good. Oh yeah. Then I say like scratch my hair, then like my belly, like light strokes, light long strokes on my arms. And so as I like it, share like how much I like it. And so just to practice outside of sex, just with the touch. And
Right.
it's a fun exercise.
What do you think the emotional side of of sex do men miss that women need?
Hmm. That the emotional presence. That's what that's the scene that for a while I thought that men don't have it. Like my dad didn't have it. I thought that I can only get it with girlfriends, like those touchy feely, like sharing emotions, like sharing, being able to share emotions. And then when I share it, usually man tries to fix it, right? So if I share emotions with a man, they either like they may be like, oh, I'm sorry, or okay, let's do this, like let's do that, let me change it. But what I'm teaching my members, that to be present and to just listen. Like listening with presence is such a gift. That like when I'm listening, I'm not thinking about anything. I'm not fixing. I'm just like I'm trying to feel like empathy, having empathy. I'm trying to feel what person is sharing. And then when I'm in that state, they can feel it, right?
Okay.
And so like we practice it, and I would tell to like like to my clients that like, okay, that's like, yeah, that's I can tell, like for me when I'm sharing and if person is like really present, I feel it so much I might even start crying. Like
Yeah.
it just, right, there is that feeling. And so then when my partner, my male partner sees that I have tears, he's not freaking out. He's not again like fixing it. He's
Right.
holding me and he's like,
Yeah.
tell me more, and what else, and what else, right? And so that that holding, that presence, that's what women so crave, so need, and so many men just don't deliver that.
I did a podcast once. Actually, I did it on my own. It was just me talking, and
Hmm.
it was the sometimes it's not that you want or you need sex, or I wanted or needed sex. It's that I needed that closeness. I just needed that feeling. You know what I mean? Of just having somebody with me. And
Hmm.
so sometimes it's not about the act. It's about the emotion that it does. It releases, maybe just for women, maybe for men too, but it when you miss that connection so badly
Mm.
and it's been so long that sometimes it just releases so much emotion
Mhm.
because it really is a different level.
Yeah, yeah, and a lot of times just like with my partner when we have a date, we'll just check in with each other,
Hmm.
and it just like to let that out, to share with someone who can receive. It just like, oh my God, okay, now I feel so light, and now I'm just like I feel held, and that's already turn on for so many women when there
Right.
is a person like really receiving us, like really
Yes.
present.
Yes. Agree.
Yeah. And then, but then it's important to understand again the difference that for men to really get close, to get that closeness and intimacy, they need they need penetration. Like they need their cock to go inside vagina. Like that's when they feel connected. That's why a lot of times they just go right for sex, but
Right.
they don't understand that you need to warm her up, you need to listen to her, you need to open her heart, and then her flower opens. You know,
Yes.
like it
It's
just
so
that's
much
the
easier if they
mantra.
would just play the game.
And so it's just like, yes, you want to connect, it's important for you, but just be patient.
Right.
And like really focus on like holding her, being with her, and then she will be open, and then you get to connect. And then like for men, it's important to know that like that's how men connect, like they need to have their cock wrapped into warmth,
Yes.
like
Yes.
vagina, hands, mouth, whatever it is, but just like wrapped in a warmth.
Um, you said something earlier, and I wanted to go back to it,
Mhm.
is the difference between you said intimacy and what was
And sexual and sex,
yes,
intimacy and
okay, yes,
sex.
yes. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, yeah, because that was like that was such a huge realization for me, because and even today, like a lot of times people don't are not comfortable to say sex, so they say intimacy. So when people say intimacy, they think sex, but it's like a nicer word.
Right.
It's like there is something, I don't know, it's more accepted in society, right? So like a client will come and say, I want more intimacy with my wife, and I'm like, oh, you want to be closer to
But yeah,
her? No, I
he's like,
want
well, no,
sex.
not really. Like a little more.
Yeah. So and that's like how I just like I explain to my clients that they're two different animals, like completely two different things. So intimacy, we remove sex from it. And how to be intimate is it's just like when I put down my armor. Like I don't need, like when I'm in society, like I can be a teacher, I am a lawyer, I am a mom, I am whatever, right? Like we have these roles that we are playing, we have masks that we are hiding certain stuff. So when I am creating intimacy, I just put it all down and I can be my true self with my flaws, with my weaknesses. I can cry. I can just like just be like that, like who I am, and the person is receiving, right? So when we share vulnerably, that's when we create intimacy. As well, there is non-sexual touch, that like how we can touch a child or touch a parent. And like I do it with my clients, we just touch this honoring touch, that like touching face, and just like imagining that it's a piece of art and you can't believe that you are just like your fingers are touching this person, and just like really um like when I was touched like that first time, I was sobbing and crying because no one ever touched me like that. Usually touch is a warm up for sex.
Yeah.
right? Which is, it's not wrong, it's good. But what if we separate and we have touch, this non-sexual touch, just for the sake of touching? With my partner, we have like 15 minutes each. We would set a timer and I lay down and he touches me from head to toe. And sometimes I say like, no genitals, no breasts. I just like want it to be very like just nourishing touch, like nothing sexual. And it just feels, it like feeds me. It's just, so that's another closeness, right? With touch. And so that's the intimacy by itself. And then sex, when we talk about sex, there is that like we feel turn on in our genitals, right? Like we feel that, we feel
Animalistic.
animalistic, we feel
Yeah.
this like, oh,
Yeah.
like wanting
Have to
to
have
like,
it.
and just like wanting to put something inside you and you put something inside me, right? Like there is that,
Yes.
right? And so we can bring them together,
But
and
you
that's
said
for,
earlier about, and I didn't mean to cut you off,
yeah, yeah,
how
yeah.
you were able to separate them, how you thought they went together. So, how did you separate only having sex and not having the feeling?
So that's, but that's like, see, it's, that's like, I love how you're digging, Tracy. I love it. I love it. I love it. Because we are all different, and um, like for some, there are people that casual sex is very hot for them.
Yeah.
So like
Me.
imagine you can go, okay, good, I love it. So you can
Yes.
go like maybe like for you meeting a stranger and like
Right.
just maybe like having sex with a stranger, maybe like showing up in a hotel room and like you never met them. That's very hot,
And I
right?
think that in my head, 100% think that in my head. But in order,
Yeah.
because people say I've been single a very long time. And so,
Mm-hmm.
people say, well, why don't you just have a friends with benefits or things like that? And it's like, I can't wrap my head around that. I need to like go on a date and chat and see if I like them. And then I can decide if I want to do anything else. But
Mm.
just to go in for it, I, I've
And
tried.
and
I'm trying to, but I can't do it.
and why you can do it? Is there some shame about it? Do you think it's
No,
wrong?
not even no, it's not even a shame about it. It's just I need at least some conversation and to see if I actually even like you enough
Okay,
to
okay.
do
So
that.
you need to understand that you like them. You need to have some sort of, you need to feel
Yes.
attraction for them,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah. But then like imagine like you come to a party. What if you came to a sex party? That there are some ideas. So or you are in an environment where it just like people, like expect to have sex. Like there are these, like I heard about hotel where it's adults only and people can have sex anywhere. So you have a room, you can be in your room, you can have sex in the lobby, you go in the pool, like, so I'm just picturing like going to environment like that where like you are chatting, you feel attraction, and then you just go, you have sex. It can be very hot
Right.
for like for you, for a lot of people, as like there are people that intimacy, having intimacy is like important for them to go together with sex, and like
Yeah.
I am one of them. Like for me, if I don't have intimacy, the casual sex, it doesn't do anything for me. It just like I can have it, I did have it, but it's not hot for me. And that's another sin. That's what I like, that's what I work with my clients, that every woman, every person is very different. And we
Mhm.
have exercises how we discover what is her desire, what is her core desire, what she really, there is that feeling that every person has, that when you have that feeling during sex, you're having the best sex possible. It just nothing else matters, like toys, partner. It's just like you need to have that feeling.
Need to have it. Yes.
That then like what turns you on, right?
Mhm.
And so to understand that it's important to understand. And so going back to intimacy and sex, so people as well, people who turned on by novelty, like it's really fun for them to have like something new, to have a new partner every time. It's hot for them. And that's like they don't need intimacy, that the sex, the casual sex, that novelty is hot. Then intimacy, they can have intimacy without sex, right? We can all have it. Like I have people in my life, I'm not sexual with them, but we hold in hands when we talk, like we Like I can be like very open with them. We touch each other, but we are not sexual.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are people who enjoy bring them together. So to have intimacy, like for me, for example, when I'm creating intimacy with someone that I'm potentially attracted, I start feeling turned on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like that intimacy, just already a turn on for me. And so bringing intimacy and sex together, it can be very yummy for people, right? But not for everyone. So we are all different. That's the key.
Whew.
It's like it's the whole science. Like as I dive into this journey of being sex educator, I feel like I've learned so much. First, I joined like this like the training to learn how to work with my clients. I thought I know everything. And oh my God, dear God, like how little I knew. Like I learned so much for myself. And I feel like I keep digging and this whole psychology of arousal is so powerful and no one teaches us this,
Mm-mm.
and it's just like this is such a missing piece, which is very important. Like people need to have more pleasure. It's not instinctual. We can create babies as an
Right.
instinct. We can do that. But having pleasure, there is so much to learn. There is so many tools, so many approaches. Ah,
Uh, for sure. And that's why I like to talk about this stuff because I
hmm
mean, my whole th- thing is that I want to empower women to want more for themselves, and
yeah.
and so and this is a huge topic, that
More
people just
pleasure,
don't
yes.
want to talk about. They want to talk about
Mm.
how can I become financially secure? How can I communicate better? How can I be the best parent? But how can I be the best boss? But it's never how can I be better in the bedroom?
Mm. And see, this is interesting. Like if we go a little bit woo, are you a woo person? Like, do you do spiritual stuff?
Do I do what?
Spiritual stuff?
Spirit on my
Like
podcast?
like
I
like
have
you in
not. No.
life.
Yes, yes, yes.
You know, like when we talk about energy and all of this like spirituality, that I'm just like I want to sprinkle a little bit, not to go too much.
Yes, please do. Please do.
But like what I notice that um when there is correlation, that when I have the sexual energy flowing, and by that I don't mean having sex, because I had a lot of sex when there was no sexual energy whatsoever. It was just rubbing genitals, that's
Yes.
it, right? I'm talking I can be even like not having sex with other people. I can feel this pleasure with myself, and that's the whole separate topic of self pleasure, how powerful it is, and
Oh,
like
for
how
sure.
needed it is, even if you have a partner. It's just like
Absolutely.
so important, right? And so when I have the sexual energy flowing, like I feel like as a sexual being, like I have pleasure, I feel like I removed my blocks and it's flowing. It speaks into my life is flowing, like the creativity is coming in, money coming in, it's just like it's all related. It's like I have good sex and then like I have a couple more clients signed up. It's just like it's amazing how it works. And then when I hear people say like, oh, I don't need sex, and I'm just like, I'm good, like how are you in life? I'm good. And then I learned they take antidepressants,
Hmm.
so that's how they're good, right? But that's like something is not flowing. So it's just like this sexual energy, it's very powerful too. When we shut it down, when we suppress it, then it spills out in like ways that like we don't expect.
Right.
No.
What tips would you give? I don't know if like tips, but what advice would you give men to be more present for their partner?
Hmm. It needs to be practiced, because it's one of those things that it's easy to say like, oh, be present, and good luck with that, because
Right.
um like no one teaches us again to be present, especially as men, right? That like as men, it just like expressing emotions, being with someone with emotions, it's not taught. So it needs to be practiced.
That's
And
true.
this is
Yes.
what, like, when I have clients like coming to me, we practice it. So they're doing it, that this like the experiential practice, that it's not that I told them like, oh, be present and then go figure it, right? They are like, I am sharing something and they are being present with me and I am giving them feedback, like, and then we work on it more and we look from the left, from the right. And so in my program, in the coaching calls, I have men on the calls where it's just like I'm the one woman, everyone else is men, and they practice with me. So those who are, like, who are brave, who courageous, they would just like volunteer, and then they do it with me and everyone else is watching and observing. So it's like I'm coaching them and everyone else is like real time watching it. And so that's when they're like, oh my God, like they're being in it, they're being present, they see how it happens, they see another man being present, they see
Right.
how it affects me. And that's what, like, that's how they, like, that's how they embody it, that's how they take it in.
Right.
Yeah, so it needs to be practiced.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean, I'm thinking just like, being a teacher and having to teach kids how to stand in line, how to share, how to do all the thing. It has to be, it's got to an example has to be set. They have to be told how to do all of that, and
Yeah.
that's no different. What do you think are some working with men? What do you think are some
Hmm.
misconceptions that they have about um, pleasuring a woman or bringing, their
Hmm.
desires, meeting their needs?
Yeah.
What do you think
Yeah,
are
yeah,
some
yeah.
misconceptions?
Yeah, so they, again, like, they think a lot of times that, like, oh, that's what would feel good for me, so that this is what will feel good for women. So, like, for example, like, men really love their cock to be touched. Uh, and so anything hands-on is just like so pleasant.
Right.
Like, even in non-sexual, like, just watching a movie and holding your partner's penis is just so, they feel accepted, they feel loved, it's just amazing. For women, if you're watching a movie and you touch my pussy, I will be like, "Ah!" and and that happens a lot, that, like, for us, for us, the hands-on, like, before you get to the genitals and anything hands-on, this is what, like, what we talk, the heart needs to be open,
Right.
this whole like intimacy or like presence, all of this needs to happen. And so I usually say that you touch woman like from head to toe, you go around breasts. That's how I know if I'm with someone touching and they go right into my boobs, I know they're not an experienced lover. I know that they need to learn a lot, right? When a man is touching me and he goes around my breasts, not touching my genitals, but just like my inner thighs, kind of teasing, but going. And then at some point, like, then when I'm warming up, I start feeling like, oh my God, my breasts do want to be touched.
Yeah.
And then, like, oh, and at some
When are
point
they
my
gonna
pussy is
gonna
ready.
Yep, yep.
Right? And then it feels good when he's just like, like he arrives there, and then it's so yeah. And then another scene with like orgasm, just understanding that orgasms are different. So men, and unless man is trained, like usually man has one orgasm, right? And a lot of times it's easy for them to orgasm. And what is uh, like, they work how to prolong it, how not to come as quickly. For women it's opposite. Sometimes it takes like I love Emily Nagoski has this like comparison of like a flock of birds, that for female orgasm to happen, it's like there is a flock of birds and all of them needs to arrive, and sometimes couple of birds are just like roaming around and they're not arriving.
Oh my god.
And so
That's an
we have,
amazing analogy.
right, I love that. And with my partner we are joking like, you know what, like one bird is like still like somewhere, like it's
One bird would just come down
not.
already.
Yeah, and so understanding that, first of all, like, not like, to be patient, that like that it takes some time, and it's okay to use vibrators. Like sometimes I hear that men feel like, oh, why do you need toys? Like you have me, you have my penis. Like, come on, like the vibrators help a lot.
Right,
And
right,
just like to have vibrator in the bedroom, it's just like for penetration. If woman doesn't orgasm from just penetration, to have vibrator on the clitoris,
right,
right? And so to like to kind of to be patient, but as well not to be attached that like, oh, she has to come talk to her, because a lot of times like I have such good time, I don't need to come. But
right.
when my partner is just like so on it and like really I feel pressure, and that's how, like you say, that's when we have to fake it, damn
Yes,
it.
yes, yes. Because once you get out of that head game, I mean, you get out of your head and you're no longer relaxed and you feel pressure, there is no good ending. You're gonna
Yes,
end it. Yeah,
exactly, right? And then just like talk to her, like, hey, like, how about orgasms? Like, is it important for you? Like, how you like to orgasm? Like, what's your favorite way to orgasm? Like, do you enjoy, like, do you like to have one? Do you have to like want to have more than one? And just like these kind of conversations, even before having sex, or even if you have your partner forever, just like ask them
right,
like what kind of orgasm you have, and because we can have clitoral, which is like the outside stimulation, as well there is like the clitoris goes inside, and the G spot, like we can have orgasm internally, we can have cervical orgasm, we can have anal orgasm, right? To just like to just talk to her, just like ask her, right? And maybe she never had some orgasm and you want to explore it together, and you want to help her like to discover that orgasm, but just like being a scientist, being this like observing, noticing, asking questions, right? Just like being curious, and
right.
then it's all flows, but not be like like
Yeah.
super attached to something.
Um, how do you think this is an interesting thing for me? How do you think the 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 landscape of relationships and intimacy or sex have changed over the years? I have a theory, which could be wrong,
Okay.
but okay, so we went through the movement of, independent women, I can do everything myself, and then men started to feel a little less manly, for a lack of a better word, because
Mm.
they felt women didn't need them as much. So I think the bedroom changed a little bit. And I feel with the huge hype with like 50 Shades of Grey, with the new movie Baby Girl especially, or if you're watching TikTok or anything like that, they're wanting the guys to lean up against the wall and grab them by their neck and be manly, take charge.
Mm.
And I think that that is missing. I think women want a little more, I like to say, manhandling, a little more manly men in the bedroom. I think it got lost for a little while. And I think men are having a harder time coming back around because,
Mm.
if you have someone, even like for myself, I'm very independent. I'm a very strong willed person. I can handle myself, but I miss the manhandling a little bit. I like a manly man, you know what I mean? And so I think the obsessions with the 50 Shades and the Baby Girl and all this other stuff and the dirty books, I think women are missing that.
Mm. So I will give you answer that you don't expect. Are you ready for that?
Yeah, am I gonna like it?
I don't know.
I'm a little nervous. Am I the crazy one? Maybe it's just been too long for me, Luba. Maybe it's just
So I think we can try to like make this, like, oh, like this is how scenes are shifting and stuff, like, and there is some truth to that. Like I think you're onto something. I just like me working with having so many people going through my training, and um I get people like to share scenes they haven't shared with anyone, like they get like really open and vulnerable, and I hear about the real stuff about sex life, not something that they just like, like show off or like try to
right.
impress something, but like real stuff, because they pay me money, they wanted to change, right? So they're very honest with me. And so what I see, that every person is so different. you know.
Yeah.
There are women who really love for men to just like pin her down, throw her against the wall, and just like to dominate her. And there are women who love to dominate, who really
Yeah,
like,
you're right. You're right. You're right.
right? And
Yeah.
then, and it can be like very different, that woman likes man like he's manly in everyday life, but then in the bedroom he wants to just like spank him and
You're
rope
right.
him, and like, and I tell you another scene, that it can be manly man who really enjoys pegging, who is like, he's manly, he's like doing all of this stuff, but then he really enjoys to surrender and for you to
Right.
have a strap on, just like really fuck him. And
Right.
he loves it because that's when he loses control, right? So, but it requires such vulnerability between partners when they get, I have goosebumps, like when they get to that point, right? Because this whole society, I am man, I am woman, like
Right.
men are the ones who fuck. But like, there are men who like really want
Who
to
want
be
that too?
fucked. Yeah, they want that too, right? And so it just boils down that every person is very different, and we want to be vulnerable and like to share and to let our partner to show up, be authentic. So my partner, my program called Authentic Lover, because that's what I preach, to be who you are. And when you are your real self, you find person who just clicks,
Yeah.
or you click with your partner, you find ways how to click with your partner, right? And
Right.
then when you're real self, and then you have your partner who is real self, and the both of you are real, that's just such a juice. We all love real stuff. We're tired of fakeness. I think that's, if you ask me of trend, I tell you that vulnerability is a new sexy. That's what I see.
Right.
That's my observation. And Tracy, just one more thing to add, like I think assertiveness is what you're talking about. That
Yes.
like we love assertiveness. Like
Yes.
when we can't decide which restaurant to go, he just picks the fucking restaurant,
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. I mean,
right?
oh, it's so, to me, of course, in my eyes, it's just so easy for them to, just, I want someone, yes, who is going to tell me what restaurant we're going to go to, what time, what day, and just, I like that role for me. You know what I mean? Like I said, because I can take care of myself in so many other ways, that I need someone who, I like to say, who has bigger balls than I do, who's a bigger man than I am. And
Man of action. You want man of
yes,
action.
yes, yes, yes. And so I don't know. I've been going on that theory forever. It's like all these little meek girls who are reading or going to see that baby girl movie and who are reading these books. It's like you got to communicate that's what you want with your man, because I'm sure they're just as willing to give it to you if that's what you're asking for.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and there are, and again, like going back to, there are women who love to be this like woman of action. She
For
wants to pick
sure.
restaurants she knows, and she will enjoy her guy to kind of like go along, and right. So we are all different. One size doesn't fill all.
I know. I know. Just so self-centered right now. It's like, come on, men. Do better,
Oh my
men. Do better.
god.
So one final little note here is, what's one key takeaway that you hope that people get from just listening to us today, or men get?
Hmm.
What's one key thing that you want people to know?
So that, like how we talked about intimacy, like creating intimacy with another person, start with intimacy with yourself, like creating that intimacy with yourself. That like, when you wake up in the morning, why are you waking up? Like what makes you wake up? Like
Mhm.
what do you want from life? What do you want from relationship? What do you want from sex? Like what what is it, like you are here? Like what is it? And just being real with yourself, like being vulnerable with yourself, like what you don't have in life that you wanted, like what you haven't done that you always like wished for, right? To just like get very real with yourself, like get intimate with yourself, like where you think you are like maybe like lacking something, like you are dropping a ball, and where you think you really show up like a hero, right? So to just like start connecting with yourself, that's I think where it just that's the juicy that's a juicy place. And I always like, for men and for women, there is this book that I always recommend. I wonder if you heard about it. It's called Come As You Are by
Oh,
Emily
okay.
Nagoski. So it's a Bible of female sexuality. So it's like a woman scientist. She just like she lays out female sexuality. You know, she talks about so many, and I recommend it like for women, of course, to understand yourself, but for men, I recommend it for men to read this book and just like to like really to really start getting like, oh my God, that explains this, that explains that, because it's like really explains female sexuality.
I love that. Come as you
Mhm.
are.
Come as you are.
Amazon cart.
Or Audible. Like she has I love audiobooks, and
Yes.
she reads it with like her passion and her voice. So
Okay.
I love listening. So for people who better receive listening, then yeah, there is audio version too.
Okay. I'm gonna put how to contact you and things like that in, in the description of the podcast. But what, just real quick, if you want to tell us what types of trainings and things that you do that people can look up and sign up for.
Yeah, I will send you link. This is my the membership for men. So I am inviting men. I am a girl for men,
Okay.
and the
Okay.
program called Authentic Lover, and so they can join, and it's a monthly subscription. And there are pre-recorded videos so that they watch the program at their own pace. And every week we have coaching calls, so that I already mentioned how like we practice this, we do that. So it's a place to, like ask any questions. There are no like uncomfortable questions, and just and be coached or see how other people coached, and just, like to become that authentic, amazing lover that she dreams of.
Okay. Love it. I love it. I could talk to you all day. You are a
Right?
light. You are wonderful. I
Mm,
thoroughly enjoyed this. So I thank you so
mm.
very much. Thank you for joining me. As always, do better, expect better, and be better. And remember to laugh through it all. Don't forget to check out my Shopify page where you can pick up some do better, expect better, be better, and some laugh through it all merchandise. Link is in the description.